Hey everyone, welcome Starflag Media Drunken Idiots podcast. I am Anthony along with my co-host.
Hey man, it's Chris, man. What's up?
What's
What's up?
going
What's up?
on everybody? And this
Happy.
week,
Ooh,
oh, yeah, what
I
was coming up?
I was gonna say Happy Friday.
Happy Friday and happy Mother's Day to those of you who are mothers and
Yes,
and and happy Mother's Day to those single dads out there. We see you kings.
we see y'all braiding, man.
That's right. Um let them not take away that day. You're a mom too. Listen, we're going to be talking about a little bit of Nintendo news this week's podcast, and then we're also going to be recording a couple of podcasts this week because we've got a trip coming up soon.
Yes, we going to
The land of milk
beautiful,
and honey. We are going to South
beautiful.
America,
Yeah,
and we're going to be traveling, and so hopefully we'll be uploading some little bit of our travel videos, and maybe we'll splicey some into the podcast. But we're going to be out there in 9 days, man. So that means we're going to be recording a couple of these podcasts and premiering them. So you're going to be seeing us wearing the same thing. But yeah, so this week we're going to be talking about Nintendo's fiscal year. And last week we talked about introducing a new segment for Chris called Chris's Corner. And this week is going to be Ant's Rant. So I got a little rant to go on this week, and we're gonna save that one till the end. But yeah, let's get started. So Nintendo had their fiscal year. Their earnings and all their reports came out,
yeah.
and I know that's a little boring news for a lot of people out there, but I find that stuff fascinating because this is when we find out how really companies are doing. We all get the PR speak, and
Yeah,
everybody wants to be the king.
Yeah, you can say everything you want to say, but the numbers don't lie.
This is exactly right. So the numbers for me are always interesting. Let's gonna start first and foremost. They announced that June 2024. They're not gonna forget that this is what we're all accustomed to for getting our gaming news for the year. Because
Yep.
normally we would have had E3 around this time of the year.
Mhm.
Nintendo confirmed they will be doing a Nintendo Direct. And it will feature the year's coming software for the Nintendo Switch.
Okay, software is good. Games is good.
And they confirmed they will not feature the Switch successor at this year's Nintendo Direct.
Okay, but there is a successor.
So, good news, bad news. They confirmed there is a successor. Bad news is it's not going to be announced at June. And we kind of expected this with all the news saying that it was going to be pushed back till next year.
Yeah.
After Nintendo reports came out, the first bit of news is that Nintendo successor's tech specs have been reportedly, and we're going to put this with another huge grain of salt, leaked. The reason is some very hungry Nintendo fans have actually gone through and tracked over the last past week shipments of components to Nintendo from different companies. So what they came up with was from NVIDIA and other companies that are shipping parts to Nintendo, and they are not the components that make up the current Switch.
Okay.
Components include 12 gigabytes of RAM, 256 gigabytes of internal storage memory, built-in microphones, and RAMs specifically designed for ray tracing.
Okay.
So, of course, this isn't confirmed by any means, but what we're looking at is Xbox Series S level of graphics here. So it's going to probably push 1080p 60 frames native and then upscale to 1440p with ray tracing.
So my thoughts is if it has one of those type of chips that can use AI to go even higher, like higher fidelity and all that type of stuff.
And I think that's what they're going to be using to get it up to 1440. Now, the other rumor is it's going to be just like the Switch with a twist. There may be a new gimmick involved as far as the Joy-Cons. We don't know yet. They do believe the screen will be bigger, and the current Switch is 720p screen. That this one will be a 1080p screen.
Okay.
So in handheld mode, we're going to get a bump in size and in resolution. So that's the first bet, and that's rumors. Now we're going to get into some numbers. So Nintendo, their biggest selling system of all time is the Nintendo DS. console would be the Wii.
Yep.
The Wii is a little bit above 110 million systems sold over the life of the Wii.
Yep.
And the DS is at like 154 million.
The Wii is like what, number 3?
The third best selling system of all time. Yeah.
Okay. Followed by is what?
It's PlayStation 2. PlayStation 2 at 155.
Yep.
155 million. The Nintendo DS sitting at 154 point something. 154.82. Just shy. And they stopped officially tracking them before they surpassed PS2.
Okay.
So Nintendo plans to sell another 13.5 million units of the Nintendo Switch this year, which would make it surpass the Nintendo DS in sales.
Okay, that's good.
And put it right behind the PS2 as the top selling system of all time.
Okay.
Which means everything that we've seen, Nintendo's not going to abandon the Switch overnight when the next Switch comes out.
Yeah.
So they're probably going to have it on the market for another 2 years.
Yeah.
After the new Switch comes out. There's a 99% chance that the Switch will become the best-selling console of all time. It's probably going to pass the PS2. It's probably going to get at like 160 million.
So the PS2 is the best-selling of all time. At 155.
Yep.
And currently they're at 1.
After this year, they plan to be at 154.82 million units sold worldwide.
Okay.
Which would beat out the Nintendo DS's 154.02.
So they're speculating to be just below the sales of the PS2.
But
it's possible.
Yeah, just shy.
It's possible they could beat it.
If they get a bump in sales somehow this year with the Switch successor coming out, they're done fine. They'll beat the PS2. But what they're really aiming for is beating the DS.
Yeah. Okay.
And it's going to be a tight squeeze because the sales are going to drop off this year, especially with all this talk of the new system coming in. But there's always the late bloomers, the late install base, and if they do a price cut, then I think we'll see like a lot of young kids getting a Switch for Christmas.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense.
Yeah, I think so. So that's a bit of interesting news that they do see themselves surpassing and being their top selling system of all time. Here's something that was really interesting. Nintendo Switch's lifespan from when it came out through now has made more money for Nintendo in profits than every single year since Nintendo's entered the video game business until the Switch combined.
Yeah, I believe it.
So in the last 7 years, they made more money than NES, SNES, N60, all those years combined.
So, I mean, in the beginning, Nintendo was, they were graphics heavy, and they were selling their systems at a loss.
No, they only sold the Wii U at a loss.
I thought the GameCube was sold at a loss as well.
They made profit on all their consoles.
Okay, so all right.
The Wii U was the only time that they've ever had a actual loss in profits.
Well, good for them. That tablet.
But the Switch is that's really the to think 1985 through 2012 was the Wii U, right? All the way up to the Wii U. They made more money in 7 years than they did all the way up through that.
Yeah, they got good.
It's crazy.
They got good at using what they got to make a profit. I mean, because at the end of the day, it's all capitalism.
Absolutely, but I was thinking
that's trying to make money.
When I was seeing these numbers, the one thing that people will also probably skip over quickly is they really capitalized on the pandemic.
Oh yeah, of course, you had to.
Nintendo with their
everyone did.
Yeah, it was a good year for gaming. But Nintendo in particular dropped Animal Crossing that year, and it was everywhere. If you want to talk about a game in 2020 that
I bought it and I played it for a week.
You bought it though. Was that the first Animal Crossing you ever played?
No.
Or bought?
That was the first I bought.
That was the first you bought. Yeah, I mean, I played the hell out of it. But yeah.
I played the first one on the 64.
On the GameCube. So the GameCube is the first one in America.
Okay, that's
that's a classic. So Nintendo expects the total sales to surpass Nintendo DS. That's pretty good. And then finally, to wrap up our Nintendo news, Nintendo also remains committed to selling physical media on the Switch successor. So,
but I mean, it's going to be cartridge.
It's going to be cartridge based. So
of course.
during Nintendo, President Furukawa was asked by investors about physical games because of PlayStation and Xbox both moving to all digital consoles, and we're seeing that little by little. And Nintendo shared this. Here's the official translation. Pardon me, I'm getting a little that whiskey's hitting now. It says our basic policy is not to simply increase the ratio of digital sales, but to maximize sales of game software, including sales of packaged software. And this policy will remain unchanged in the future. Under these circumstances, we need to increase convenience for both customers who play packaged versions of our games and digital download versions. We hope to continue to make further improvements and innovations in the future to the Switch's successor. So at least,
what does that mean to you?
Yeah. So basically, this is all right. We're not gonna not sell you digital games. We are committed to, and here's what it means to me. Nintendo is super Japanese. Japan is probably one of the last markets on the planet that buys everything still physical, and so they cater to that market first, and then the rest of us get what they get. So Nintendo of America has to market whatever they're going to do in Japan for us.
Okay.
So if Japan is getting a system that sells physical cartridges, Nintendo of America has to find a way to get these physical cartridges on store shelves.
Yeah.
Best Buy is probably going to be the next one to cut all gaming.
So when you read that, yeah. I heard it differently. And maybe it's because I've been drinking a Remy, and we are drunken idiots, and I could be an idiot.
Yes.
But when you read it, I heard it like maybe they're gonna start to add the manuals back to the physical game.
Okay. Yeah, well, I think maybe you thought that because of packaged. Yeah, we're those days are over. Yeah. I mean, you open up a Switch cart now, and it's just the shell and the game, and maybe a loose leaflet with a digital code to download something like a DLC pack or something. Well, I don't know. Nintendo games tend to still have something in there, but it's never.
It's the same as everyone else.
Yeah, it's the same. It's not the same. We're not gonna get. I don't think we're getting paper anymore.
Yeah, but if they were.
Yeah, I think now they're just happy to include the manual in the game software, where you can just go to the option settings and look at the manual.
Well, if games were to include manuals, I would probably buy them more physically over.
They need to make an incentive for sure.
Yeah, that would be an incentive to me.
Yeah, maybe some artwork or an art book or something in there. Something. But here's the thing: it doesn't make sense for them because that would just cut into their profits even further.
Yeah, and I get that.
They're still selling you a $70 game, and if they sell it to you digitally, then they're selling you air.
I get that. I get that. All fine and dandy. Mm-hmm. I'm pro capitalism, and I'm pro consumer.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But I'm just saying,
as a consumer, I like physical games.
As a consumer, if you told me that, all right, you could buy this game and you could download it digitally at 12 a.m. All right, but if you get it in person, you get the manual, you get the book, you get the artwork that come with it for the same price.
That's how like GameStop tries to handle their. Then I might they include like a special edition.
Yeah, it's a good chance that I would pay the same price to get the book and all that other stuff.
Yeah, I'm with you, but I think that we're in the minority.
Yeah, I mean,
and here's another thing.
Old school.
But here's another thing. When I say I'm with you, I know for a fact that personally I've bought, I'm going to say around 80% of my games digitally over the last 5 years.
Okay.
So I do have a few physical copies over there, but I've got 4 physical Nintendo Switch games. And over the lifespan of the Switch, the last 7 years, I've had maybe a total of 15. Some of which I've traded in. But if you look at my digital Switch library, I probably have around 30 to 40 games.
I don't have 30 to 40, but what I'm saying is like it's the same with me. I like the convenience.
It's Netflix. I can just go through my library and I don't have to get up and move a physical cart. Yeah, it's nice to have. And also when I travel, I don't have to worry about losing the game.
Yeah.
So little things like that. Nintendo shared their profits. They were way up. Nintendo is the most profitable company out of the big 3. this fiscal year, or the last fiscal quarter, I should say. But here's the big news: they had an 86% increase in mobile and profits and IP. Now,
Mario Run, Mario Kart,
Animal Crossing, whatever,
Pokemon Go.
Pokemon Go. Now, here's the but around 50% of that profit came from one thing: Super Mario Brothers the movie.
Okay.
It was shown to be the most profitable film of 2023.
Yep.
Even
we know that
it was the number 2 highest grossing film behind Barbie. So Barbie and Mario, but Mario made more profit than Barbie did.
Yep.
So, do you think this is gonna help that new Legend of Zelda movie that's coming out next? I think Nintendo's gonna be pumping money into movies going forward, and we know for sure now that Mario Brothers 2 is coming out.
Yeah, that's a fact.
There's a live action Zelda that's coming out. And it's not just like Hollywood's running it. Nintendo sent Eiji Onuma in to make sure that it's a Zelda movie.
Okay.
Just like they sent in Miyamoto.
So that's good. So they
to make sure it's a Mario movie.
Excuse my language. They're not gonna fuck it up.
They're not.
That's what we want. If you're gonna make a Zelda movie,
I'm excited to see what they do with that.
And so like, all right, boom. All right, let me rewind. If you're gonna make a Zelda movie, and you don't want to fuck it up.
No, it's a bit.
You're gonna want to send one of your guys there, and
you definitely want to be a success. Zelda, even though it is popular here in North America, is not a huge franchise worldwide. But this movie could change that.
Zelda is a popular franchise in the Western world,
in North America especially. But in Japan, it sells pretty poorly.
Yeah, but that's
and even in Europe, it doesn't. It's maybe sells 1 million copies. But this movie could be the catalyst, just like we saw, like the new Fallout series.
Yeah. So
what are like the top 10 games selling right now? Fallout has 3 of them.
So what I'm trying to say is, it's like boom. All right. We could look at
mess this up.
We could look at examples, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Halo had a game. Halo had a TV show,
and it was terrible.
It was terrible. They had a Twisted Metal TV show.
It
was terrible.
Too.
They had the Fallout TV show that you mentioned.
So far, it's gotten rave reviews.
It was great. The Last of Us.
I heard that was good.
It was great.
Yeah.
So it's like, you can either do it good.
When they're good, you see the bump up in sales.
Yes. Mm-hmm. When it's good, it's good. Everything's good. Yep. If you skip out and you want to be cheap and you want to cut corners and it's bad.
Yeah.
Or
do you think Link will talk?
I think Link. Oh, that's good. That's a good one.
That's a good one.
That's a good one. That's a good one. You know why that's a good one?
Mm-hmm.
It's because they could play off the idea of that.
They could make other characters be that. He could be like a warrior, kind of like, just a silent warrior, or other characters could really have a chance to flourish.
They could do whenever he want to talk, somebody could just speak for him and cut him off.
Yeah,
and make
whatever.
It
funny. And maybe he has a badass scene where he finally says something.
Yeah. So I
really wanted to be. You remember Lord of the Rings: The Two Towers?
Yeah, I never watched Lord of the Rings, but
we gotta
just to finish my point. What I'm trying to say is like, boom. Mm-hmm. It's like you got a lot of these content creators, movie directors, or whatever, and they would. So, for example, Bryan Singer,
yes,
who made the X-Men, the first 2,
mm-hmm.
he said that he did not want the comic books, being in his presence when it was developing a script or shooting a movie,
right.
So it was like, all right, so you have,
which is why there was so many inconsistencies in those movies.
Yeah, so you have people who know the lore, and you have people that don't.
Right.
But my point is, with a lot of these companies and entities in the East, Japan, they saying, "Oh, you want to make a Link movie? All right, well, we're gonna send my guy over to you.
Make sure
that it is what it is."
Yeah, like when they did Mario, they weren't gonna make the same mistake they did with the first one.
Yeah,
they sent Miyamoto.
Exactly. So it's like, we're gonna. So we're gonna make it be what it is.
Right.
If it's not, then we walking.
Yeah.
And I'm
No, we're
pretty
in
sure
charge.
it's in their contract.
We're in charge.
And they're like, yo, if Nintendo says, oh, this is not what
we agreed. Yeah, that's not what I want. Yeah, they have the final say in a lot of things.
Yeah.
No, they definitely have creative control. That's for sure. Which gives me a lot of like hope for this movie. I definitely am excited for it. It's good that we know that Mario was such a huge success. This is going to kind of also let Nintendo feel a little bit more secure about maybe letting a lot of their other IPs go. After Zelda, it only makes sense that we get like maybe a Star Fox Kids TV show or a Metroid Prime movie. That would be dope if we can get something like that going. Maybe a Star Warsy type Metroid Prime, or like a Star Wars or a Star Fox Kids show would be really good. Maybe CGI it. Little things like that, maybe, but more than likely we'll get a Donkey Kong Kids show since Kirby's also super popular.
Yeah, there's
a lot of opportunity here.
I got an email alert about Nintendo World and Universal going to be wrapped up next year.
Yeah, and there's supposed to be a Zelda world coming.
Yeah.
And here's we're going to wrap this up really quick with Ant's rant, but before we get to the rant, Nintendo spoiled the next addition to the Nintendo World in Universal Studios, because Universal Studios released a sizzle reel showing off like the development of Nintendo World, and it was like Donkey Kong World and like the Mario Land and all this cool stuff, right? And in the background you see Eiji Onuma, and no big deal because he was right next to Shigeru Miyamoto, and they were kind of like looking at, wow, how cool this looks. But Nintendo then sent Universal a message saying take the video down because Onuma is in it. And then all that did was alert fans that if Onuma is in it and they took it down, that means there's going to be a Zelda world.
Yeah.
So we're getting a Zelda world in Universal Studios.
Yeah, I mean the internet wins.
I can't wait to see what they do
all the time.
Wrap this show up. I'm gonna go with Ant's rant. So as we've been talking about Xbox the last 3 months, we know they had the biggest acquisition probably in gaming history with Activision Blizzard and ZeniMax, right? And we were talking about what are they going to do, and are they going to consolidate studios? There are going to be redundancies. Bobby Kotick got let go. They had to pay him out. But Xbox announced this week that they're going to be shuttering a lot of studios down. And it makes sense because there is going to be Activision Blizzard. Yeah. Activision Blizzard is a huge company, but when you're talking about merging with another company like Microsoft, who has its own studios and its own assets, there's going to be a lot of redundancy. So a lot of these smaller studios are going to get gobbled up, or they're going to have those teams moved to other studios.
Yeah.
Okay.
All the big wigs.
Now here's my rant. One studio in particular probably they shouldn't have shut down for, in my opinion, big time reasons, and that's the studio behind Hi-Fi Rush. Hi-Fi Rush is perhaps Microsoft's, there's also Grounded, but perhaps biggest breakout hit, surprise breakout hit. Microsoft is known for Halo, of course, Gears.
You mean Xbox?
Yeah, Xbox, of course, Xbox brand. Microsoft, of course, being, Xbox. But we want to say that Hi-Fi Rush gave us, to me, it gave me Sega Dreamcast vibes.
Yeah.
It was colorful, it was bright, it was beautiful.
I agree.
Cel shaded graphics, and it was very Japanese and so unlike anything Microsoft Xbox has ever done. And critically acclaimed.
Yep.
Hugely popular.
Yep.
Great sales.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's coming to Nintendo Switch and PlayStation 5.
Yep.
So this game is going to go even further than the Xbox audience. People are going to love this freaking game on the other platforms who didn't already play it on Xbox.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm going to buy it.
It looks amazing.
I'm going to buy it on the Switch.
I'm buying it on Switch.
Yeah.
Amazingly, probably the system you're gonna get less performance out of, but it just screams Nintendo to me. It screams Sega and Nintendo to me. So I'm getting it on Switch. I could probably get this game for $10 on Steam. I'm gonna buy it on Switch. with that said, Microsoft, Xbox is shuttering that studio down. My rant on that is you had the balls to then go on a podcast and talk about needing smaller studios to bring out standout hits that will be critically acclaimed and
Hypocrisy.
get you great awards.
Fraud.
Well, guess what, Mr. Spencer? I don't believe a thing that comes out of your mouth. We know that you're a mouthpiece for the company.
Fraud.
You are, you're no more than a public spokesperson at this point, in my opinion. Fraud. I got the reference. But inside joke. But regardless, let me rant, Chris.
I'm just trying to hype you up.
This is Ant's rant. And Microsoft, you're on notice. You are on notice. And here's why. Activision Blizzard, kudos. We knew you got it. Congratulations. You got ZeniMax. Congratulations. Hell, if I could do it, and if I was Sony, if I was Nintendo, I'm looking at that and going, well, shit, I wish I would have done that. Congratulations. But you can't go fucking it up. You're ruining it for the rest of us. There are some great games that could have been had from that studio, and Hi-Fi Rush was just the beginning, and you fucked it up. You sold probably the best small studio out of all of the ones that you could have done. You sold them out. And now we're getting a port, probably by a third party, to Nintendo and PlayStation, and I'll be damned if those run shit because you got rid of the studio that made the game. So I'm going to wait for a review before I buy my game. I'm just going to say that. Because if that's the case, I won't buy it on Switch. I won't buy it on PlayStation 5. And if it's $5 on Steam, maybe I'll think about it. Anyway, that's my rant for the week, man. Next week you guys can stay tuned perhaps for Chris's Corner when Chris has a rant. But maybe we'll see that next week. We will catch you guys next time. We're gonna wrap up this week's Nintendo and gaming news, and we're gonna move on for next week's is gonna be the
He's finally mad at Microsoft.
Unless something huge develops, we will have the outcome of the Kendrick Drake rivalry coming up.
Oh yeah, we got that coming up
in the next podcast. So as always, guys, thanks for joining us, Starflag Media. My name's Anthony.
It's Chris.
And we will join you guys next week. Thanks for joining us. And leave that like, leave that share, leave that subscribe. It really is helping us out a hell of a lot. We really appreciate it and we need it. See you guys next week.